I began writing a live-action tailspin by hand in April 2006, and the story was based on and would follow closely the first 4 comic issues and the pilot miniseries Plunder and Lightning Parts 1 to 4. The only reference to the story I had at that time was the comic books. I didn't have the animated series in my possession then. I remember I had to take into account how would the story play out in the real-world environment, what had to be changed so it could work in the real world. Are there any specific shots or sequences that I wanted to establish in the script early on, and so on. I knew that Tailspin was animated, that it wasn't real, but there were certain shots and elements that I remember in the television series that I felt could be real, that it can be real. I wrote for quite some time, but amazing even myself, I gave up soon after, believing I was just pursuing something silly. So I shelved what I had written and was simply forgotten for the next 2 years. In early 2007 I pursued a course of studies in multimedia computing for 1 year. Eventually, upon successful completion, I was rewarded with my certificate in multimedia. I was so impressed with myself that I decided to return the following year to pursue a diploma in multimedia for the sake of an education and for the sake of a future for myself. Until this happened to me. On that day, I was involved in a rather serious car smash on my way to classes along a freeway. Only myself and my car were involved. No one else was involved. In the lead up to the crash, I was having personal problems with a fellow student who was causing me strife in the 1.5 weeks before the accident. And I do believe that partly contributed to the crash. I also suffered some nasty injuries. My chest was crushed, my neck was bruised, my left fingers were jittery, and my right elbow was also bruised. But the part of my body where I sustained the most injury was my right knee. Although there were no broken bones, it was injured very severely, pretty heavily. It effectively made me unable to walk or walk properly. Soon enough I made a decision. 6 weeks later I spoke to my superiors and privately told them that I was leaving because I couldn't go on. Nothing was working out for me the way I wanted things to be. My body was sore and was screaming for some desperate, much needed rest, so I left. Being extremely upset, I plunged into a deep depression period at the loss of my car for a month or so after that. And I still feel that way sometimes. It was during this time when I was recuperating at home, still in the phase of my depression period, that I began speaking to my parents about helping me in the purchase of another car. A used car, the same one. But my parents, being the staunch, upright and overly ridiculous strict parents they are, refused to help. Unable to afford another car on my own, that's when I began getting the idea of picking up Tailspin again and continuing where I left off, so I did. I figured if I can write the best damn script possible and impress Disney, I may just get lucky. The idea was to write as much as I can, the best I can, for the sake of an excellent story, and hope that I may just get paid enough, that I may afford another car, and also hope that the writing would get me out of my depression period. I had a script, a story that I had to complete. because I like to see it eventuate into a film and a paycheck. It's a win-win situation for three parties, really. I get the paycheck and get the car. Disney get to make the movie and reap the profits. And the audience, especially Tailspin fans, get to see the movie. Everybody's a winner. I worked for long hours every day for 2 long months, starting with writing the screenplay in longhand first, and then eventually typing it in PC sometime after. I remember feeling really proud of myself, that I finally achieved and completed what I wanted to see, a Tailspin screenplay before my very eyes. Before sending it off, I had to get it certified and registered by the Writers Guild of America. For a small fee, you get your work documented and authorized, and they also send you a certificate, a proof of verification in the mail. After registering the screenplay online, it's ready for sending. Before sending it, however, I wrote a letter to Disney to accompany the script. To whom it may concern, I'd like to present to you my completed screenplay, which you now have in your possession. In regards to my screenplay in question, I'd like to propose the following: a live-action Tailspin feature film. The plot in the screenplay closely follows the story and origins of Tailspin as created by Walt Disney Comics and Walt Disney Television Animation back in 1990 in the following television episodes and comic issues: Plunder and Lightning Parts 1 to 4. Some changes have had to be made for it to function in the real world, but don't worry, they're not much. I've also added in some new scenes, dialogue and sequences to give it the filmic treatment it deserves. But the core story still remains the same. Human characters take the place of the original animal cartoon characters, but the character names remain the same. Casting will be crucial to ensure the film's essence and character. Ever since I laid my eyes on both the comic books and television series when I was a kid, I always imagined Tailspin would make a fantastic live-action movie, and hoped that Disney would one day realize it. So I waited and waited for almost 20-odd years for someone to come up with it or announce it, but eventually got sick of it, waiting for the moment. So I figured I may as well come up with the script myself. I originally began writing Tailspin in early 2006, but shelved it soon after, believing I was just wasting my time in pursuit of something silly. In 2007 I pursued an institutional course in multimedia, which I enjoyed and decided to continue into 2008. Then it all went horribly wrong. On 26th of August this year, I was involved in a serious car smash while on my way to classes. Only myself and my car were involved. My beloved car was beyond repair and was whacked off as a total loss. Suffering from numerous injuries, an injured knee, and unable to carry myself, I made the painful decision to leave and sank into a deep depression period at the loss of my car in a month after the accident. That's when I decided to pick up Tailspin again, in a bold attempt to get out of it while my injuries healed. I also currently find it hard to get around town without a car. Unable to afford another car, I also wrote Tailspin in the hope of selling my screenplay and getting paid so that I may purchase another car, a used car. So now that you know what drove me to write a live-action Tailspin, I please humbly ask that you take the valuable time to read through it and hope that you enjoy it despite the pain I've endured in putting it together. What you have in your possession can be considered as a work of blood, sweat and tears. Please read it. I think you will enjoy it. In the meantime, I look eagerly forward to a response from you soon. I then sent both the script and my letter to Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California 2 days later.